Okay, so the big question for today is, what was the communication like between you two guys when you first started dating, and how has it changed or evolved throughout y'all's relationship? There's another part. How do you still communicate when things aren't the best or you have a disagreement?
Mm.
You want to start with the first one and then like go to the next one?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do I need to say the first one again?
Go for it.
Okay. The first question is, what was the communication like between you guys when you first started dating, and how has it changed or evolved throughout y'all's relationships? Technically, this is like 3 questions in one.
It is. It's a lot, but it's all good.
It's okay. Though. It's all right.
So when we first started
dating. So it said when we first started dating. So it's good to note that we were best friends long before we even started dating.
Yeah, but I think most people start at the dating phase when they're meeting each other.
Yeah.
So I think we have to speak from when we first met. And I think we can really like transition into how it was when we dated. But I know when we first met, the biggest thing was the fact that we were so interested in each other, that our communication was really more so based around us getting to know each other.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time like just in that initial part and learning how to communicate with each other just based off of getting to know one another.
Yeah.
And so I know when we first met, we spent like 3 nights up to like 3, 4 in the morning just talking.
Sitting outside the barracks at a picnic table.
Yeah, sitting outside the barracks at the picnic table.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know, the barracks in the military is like the dorms in college. So just to give some context behind that. But we sit out there at that picnic table, literally talking until 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and had to be at PT at 6 o'clock. And so I know in that time, we spent a lot of time really just, how did you grow up? Like what were your interests? All of those different things or whatever. And as we transitioned like out of that initial phase and just started talking, I think that our communication really started to like develop when we started asking some of those like deeper questions about each other. And I think a lot of that was what helped us learn how to communicate with one another, because we had to learn each other's values. Like I had to learn like what was important to you. I had to learn how did you grow up, like the thing, like how you saw the world.
Yeah.
Because without us actually seeing how each other saw the world, I think it probably would have made it way more difficult for us to be able to communicate and understand one another. So our communication was good, when we first started, not started dating, but when we met each other. But I think a lot of it was really based off of our high interest in getting to know one another.
Yeah.
So, but it was still something that we really had to learn, because I know you had beliefs that I didn't necessarily have. I had beliefs that you probably didn't necessarily have. And we really had to learn how to navigate those things. And that took a lot of time. Like that was years of work. Like that, I don't think that ever really changed. Like I think we still had to develop that over the years of learning each other's perspective. And in communicating, it was never from a point of judgment. It was, I'm just trying to understand you because I'm interested in you.
Right.
And I think that made our communication so well, because it was like, I'm never asking you things, or I'm never trying to pull something out of you that I want. I just want to see how you think. I want to see what your values are. I want to see why you think the way that you think. And we were always able to do that without casting judgment. And I think that's kind of where we started. What do you think?
Okay, so for me, when we first met, we were just friends. So it was just that phase of like, like friend dating, like really getting to know you. There was no pressures like it would be in dating.
Right,
I wasn't trying to impress you. You wasn't trying to put on your like best version of you to impress me because we were friends. You know, we were trying to build a friendship. So I think that like that in itself was a great thing because we knew from jump the real and the raw about each other because we weren't at that dating phase, you know,
we weren't trying to perform.
Yeah. Like, oh, let me make sure I'm looking my best, my perfect self to impress you. Like, no, like we best friends, like we kicking it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that worked in our favor and the communication was always I think something about our communication that was so dope is you would always ask me questions and I'd be like, damn. I never thought about that. I never thought to ask myself that, and nobody else has ever asked me that before. So I'm like, well, damn, how do I feel about this? What do I think about this? What are my values? What are my perspectives on this particular topic? So it really made me open my eyes and start to. I think when I met you, I really started to deep dive in myself and try to figure out myself and what I liked and what Adoria was about. Because, you know, we joined the military at 17. Mm-hmm. So I'm going from my parents' house, you know, in school, and then to the military. So my parents are telling me what to do, what to believe. Then I'm going to the military. They're telling me what to do and believe. So now I'm like, well, shit, like, what does Adoria believe?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, you really made me question myself. Like, what is Adoria all about? And that in itself, like, I was like, oh, shit. I like this dude. Like he really challenges me to think. Mm-hmm. So that was a big win for me. That's why I was like, you know what? I want us to be close. I want us to be friends. I want to keep being around him. He's a good, genuine guy. So yeah, like that. Our communication started out great because we liked each other as a person. Like you were just a dope ass person. I'm like, damn, like how you get this dope? Where you come from? You know what I'm saying? Where your people from? You know what I mean? Right. So it just like I don't know. It just worked out like perfectly because we were genuinely interested in who each other were at our core. Right. Not no, oh, you cute with a big booty, like you know what I'm saying?
That. And you had that, and that was very interesting to me.
See, and that's when we go off topic.
I mean, you brought that up, but I just wanted to show my appreciation.
And you chocolate and buff, like you know what I'm saying. So it wasn't any like surface level shit. It's like no, I really want to get to know who you are and what you're about.
Right.
You know. So.
And I think one of the big things that probably stops a lot of other people, is when you are in that. When you're in that dating phase and people are trying to perform, it's hard to maintain a performance when you're not being 100% genuine because it's like you show up like this in the beginning and you act like this trying to say all of the right stuff. Mm-hmm. And that way, when stuff starts to change, it's so drastic because it's not like it was when you were in your performance stage. So now it's like, well, I was paying attention to you with this intention or whatever this goal was, or I was trying to sound a certain way, or I was trying to get a certain result, or I was trying to make you look at me in a certain light or whatever. And for us, when we started talking, that was never the thing. Yeah. It was just like, I really want to get to know you. And like when we met, you saw me in my rawest, realest form, and I was never trying to be anything above what I was. I was just me, and we connected in that way, and the same for you. Yeah. And so it was like there was never any real need to put on this image. Yeah. You know, because I wasn't necessarily trying to impress you. I wanted to show you that I was interested in you and that I actually liked you. Mm-hmm. But not at the expense of me pretending to be something long term. Mm-hmm. And I can say that now because, you know, it's hindsight. Mm-hmm. But I know in the moment, you know, who knows what we were really thinking. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Because I'm sure we didn't put this level of thought in it.
Not even.
All I know is like, I liked you a lot. Yeah. And I paid really close attention because, like we said before, like my goal, I knew I wanted to love you and I wanted to love on you as best as I could. And I felt like the way to do that was to pay extreme close attention to you. And so that was like my first idea, or it didn't even register as how that translated over into communication.
Yeah.
And me paying attention. Like I just wanted I wanted it to be obvious.
Yeah.
That I liked you,
mm-hmm.
and that you wouldn't be able to compare me to nobody else because of the level of attention that I paid.
Yeah.
And then when you would say certain things or make certain suggestions, I would make it my business to remember those things,
mm-hmm.
and then let you know that I heard you and that I was listening.
And you still do that to this day.
Yeah, like
you still do. 11 years later, you still do that.
Yeah,
and that's super dope.
Yeah, so I think that's really what it was like at our core, like because even though you didn't have a lot of words when we first met.
I know. Shit, sometimes I feel like I don't have a lot of words now.
Yeah, and I had so much like, cause it was like, oh my God, I'm so freaking interested in you, but it was like you had never took the time to like ask yourself any of those questions.
That's true.
But what was big for me was because I was coming out of a real dark place and like meditating and really trying to get a hold of myself. So I had been in a lot of reflection at the time or whatever. So us running into each other and meeting and growing the way that we did, it was like the perfect segue because I was already kind of looking for me, even though we was only like 18, 19 years old. Yeah. I was trying to find a better version of me, and I was able to jump into that with you. And I think it just kind of served our union well early in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like the perfect storm.
Yeah.
Because I can't say that our communication would have been nearly as well had we have met a month or two earlier.
Because you was like a hot boy shit.
I was for the streets for a moment. For a brief moment. I was for the streets. But things transpired. I found myself and lo and behold, we ended up on a better side of things.
Yeah. I really wasn't expecting you to say that.
Yeah, your boy was for the streets.
Yeah. Let's go to this next question. Okay, so I feel like we answered how it changed and evolved throughout our relationship. How has it changed and evolved throughout our relationship?
So, you start that.
How has it changed and evolved? I feel like we ask each other harder questions now. I feel like we're far past the surface level type shit. So it's really hard, uncomfortable questions that's gonna progress our relationship.
Yeah.
As far as like how we communicate, I wouldn't say like I feel like how we started was a great start, and it's just more consistent now, I guess you can say, because we always up each other's ass.
And I don't even think it's that it's evolved. I think it's just the life has gotten so much more like deeper and serious. So it's like the quality of the questions, the depth of the questions, what's actually happening in life like has so much more substance. Mm-hmm. So it's like we took those practices that we had earlier on and just applied it into the deeper side of life that we've grown into.
For sure.
So I don't know if it's necessarily evolved. It's just that we've grown into a deeper place and we've applied those same things at a deeper level now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I will say, like our communication isn't perfect by no stretch.
No.
But
especially when high emotions get involved.
Exactly.
It's kind of crazy, but it's all right.
It is, yeah. Anyway, but even in that though, it's like, because I know there's been for you guys, there's so many different types of communication.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's verbal, there's nonverbal. For my fellas, sometimes women say things without actually saying things, and we're supposed to decode the messages, and we don't get it right away. And I'm notorious for, you got to tell me stuff directly because I will miss it. And I will keep missing it. And I will keep missing it until it's like, babe, I'm saying this. Mm-hmm. Because subliminal messages, like, they just don't register for me or whatever. Yeah. And I think that's something, like, that's probably across the board for a lot of men and women. Like, ladies, y'all will throw I'm hinting at it so you can catch it. And me, I'll be
and then my ass be like, I'm like, but you supposed to know. Like, you supposed to know that this is what I'm saying. And you be like, babe, like, seriously, I don't. So you gotta tell me. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, because like,
okay.
as me being the male species, sometimes we just not thinking.
Sometimes y'all a little bit slower
Granted.
than us. But it's okay.
Call it whatever you want.
I'm just saying what I'm saying.
I ain't even trying to change it.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Hey, and as long as we are equally aware, you know, that's a part of our communication. So that way you know that your boy ain't catching it all the time. And if it ain't coming direct, I'm very likely to miss it.
Yeah.
But one of the good things though, like when it comes to communication, because there's so many types, I think one of the most important things for other people to know is you really have to know the heart of the person that you're with, because sometimes even in communication, like things can go, they can be misunderstood or taken the wrong way, or you can think that somebody's saying something one way and they're not. And so you really have to know or be willing to give the benefit of the doubt that the person you're communicating with, be it your spouse, your partner, somebody in business, whatever, you have to kind of give the benefit of the doubt to think that they're not saying something that's meant to cause harm or hurt or do anything like that or whatever. Because I know there's been plenty of times I've said stuff that I didn't necessarily mean the way that I said it.
Yeah.
And especially like in text and doing all these other things.
Text messages. I swear that's like one of the worst ways to communicate if it's like a high emotion conversation. It's like, no, like let's get on the phone or let's get face to face, because these text messages, one, my fingers is going too fast and I might say some flip mouth because I'm just like over the text. You know, like we need to talk. Like,
and sometimes like we'll make up how we feel like we hear it in our mind.
Yes.
And so like that's why it's good to have those face to face or whatever, because it's like we know each other enough at this point to know that the last thing I would ever want to do is to hurt you.
Yeah, for sure.
I might not say something the right way, but I'll let you know, like, I'm trying to find the words for this. And I had to, as we've had deeper conversations, we've talked about more serious things. Like sometimes I got to start out, I'm like, babe, hold up. I'm going to try to say this. I don't know if it's going to come out completely right.
Yeah.
But let me talk through it so I can find the words.
Yeah, and we both do that now. Yeah. It's like, okay, I have a thought and an opinion about how I feel right now, but I'm not sure if it's actually how I feel, but let me just talk it out. Let me talk myself through how I'm feeling. Yeah. Don't take nothing the wrong way. Just let me talk it out. Let me get it out, and then let me sort through it after the fact. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think we've mastered that shit right there. Yeah. And it works. It works so well for our communication. Like it really does work well.
Because I can't say that it'll work for everybody.
Yeah. But because sometimes you be like, the fuck she just said? Not you, but I'm saying it's in somebody else's situation. Like, the fuck did she just say she felt? Like, no, like let me just get it out. And then let me process it. Like, that's not what I meant. This is how I feel, for real.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like, it'll make sense in your mind, but then when it's coming out, like, I don't know if this is exactly how I meant. Like, how did you take it?
Yeah.
And then you tell me how you took it.
Feedback.
And I'd be like,
that ain't what I meant.
So, like, hold on, let me try that again.
Because
it's coming out completely different from how I'm received. Well, how I'm creating it in my mind or whatever.
And I think it's so important that people do have that feedback. It's like, okay, this is what I'm saying. How did you take what I'm saying? Okay, the way you took it is not exactly what I meant. So let me rephrase how I said it to make sure you're understanding it the right way. It's like, you know, that back and forth, like feedback.
Without retaliating.
Yeah, and I'm not attacking you for not understanding, which sometimes when my emotions are high, I do attack because I'm like, bro, please, like, I really need, I can't get it out the way I want it to, but I want you to just understand where I'm coming from.
Right.
But, you know, in those moments, it's just good to just be like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. How did you hear how I feel? And okay, let me make sure. Let me confirm whether or not that's really how I felt. You know, if you're receiving it the way that I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
So I think. Wait, let me go to because I think this is going into the next question, like about kind of like disagreements and stuff. The next question is, how do you still communicate when things aren't the best or you have a disagreement?
Yeah, right in there.
So you want to start that one?
We've had this plenty of times.
Okay.
But it's like, anytime we have a disagreement, I know that what we've been really good about is we don't judge in those moments. It's like we really try to hear each other out. And it's like, even if you say something that I disagree with, or I say something that you disagree with, depending on the nature of it and how serious it is, we might respond like, immediately.
Mhm.
And then in other situations where it doesn't really require that right away, like we'll take time to like really think on it. Like we've had recent situations where I'm like, I don't know if I really agree with that,
Mhm.
but I hear you.
Mhm.
I've gotten what you said. I need some time to like really process it.
Yeah.
So that way when I do respond to you or whatever, I'm not just giving you some emotionally ran over, barely thought out answer, whatever the case may be. But like even when we've had disagreements, either be it recently or in the past, it's always really trying to get like to the core of like why is it that you feel that way? Because one thing we know for sure is that going back and forth about why you're wrong doesn't work.
It don't work.
It
Oh
don't
my
work.
God,
Like
it don't
going
work.
back and forth trying to convince you that your way is wrong and my way is right. The only thing you can do is create resistance and friction
Mhm.
and cause the argument to blow up.
Mhm.
It's like, so I'm not trying to make you be right, and I'm also not trying to convince you that I'm right.
Mhm.
It's more so of like, okay, how can we figure out how this thing works together, or what's the best overall solution to whatever the problem is that we can mutually agree on, because we can't be on two different sides.
Mhm.
And maybe in those situations, it might require like, okay, well, we're going to take elements of both sides. And of course, all this depending on the situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Because sometimes it might be like, all right, I don't agree with it, but let's try it this way.
Mhm.
It works out great. If it don't, fuck it. Let's try another way.
Yeah.
This is my way. We're going to try it. If it works out, great. If it don't, fuck it. We tried it.
Yeah.
Let's create something else. You know what I mean? But it's always about us being able to find the solution in love, and knowing that the thoughts and the opinion of the other person are there for a reason, based off of however they feel,
Mhm.
their values, or whatever's creating the experiences. And you can't deny a person their beliefs around something. All you can do is really look to understand.
Yes.
And so like if you put understanding over you trying to be
right, yes,
then
yes.
You can make that communication so much easier, because me trying to force my thoughts on you will get us nowhere.
Yeah.
And because you will think that I'm discrediting
because I feel
you.
like you're attacking me at that point.
Exactly.
Like you're attacking what I believe. You're attacking what is true for me.
Right.
So you're to me, you're attacking who I am.
Yeah. Your intelligence.
Yeah.
Everything.
I'm like, okay, now we got a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that can be like degrading.
Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely.
oh, you saying that I'm not smart, or I can't come to a conclusion, or how I think is dumb, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like all of these are ways that a message can be construed by you trying to convince somebody or press somebody.
Right.
And I just don't believe that works.
Right.
So it's like I would rather, like, okay, well, I see where you're coming from. This is how I feel about it. And we don't necessarily have to always agree on it.
Right.
But
we can respect each other's views on it for sure.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, I don't gotta agree with you on every fucking thing, but I will respect what you believe, because I love you. Right. And that's the big picture. Unless it's crippling our relationship, which nothing does.
Right.
But outside of that, like, no, I respect your opinion. I respect your beliefs. I respect that you have your own beliefs.
Right. And I think something that's important for other people to take into consideration too is you also have to be aware of like how to best approach it based on the nature of the situation. Like if it's something that is pressing, that involves the well-being of the household, how do you handle those situations or whatever? Because they have to have a higher level of urgency. Or if it's just like you have a preference and another person has a preference, you can approach that with some tact, and you don't have to necessarily force that. Understanding really needs to be heavy at that point. Yeah. You know what I mean? And just understanding like the situation, the context, all of those other things or whatever, and then having those conversations in love. Yeah. Because again, like I think a lot of the times we have to put our need to be right, or like to sit there with our chest all pumped out, but like, oh, because I won an argument. Like
what does that solve? You win. What does that solve?
Yeah, it's like if you win and your partner feels like you've discouraged them
Mm-hmm.
or like you've made them feel less than or whatever. Like, did you even win?
Have you really won?
Yeah, like that's like nobody wins in that situation.
Right.
Like, and so it's understanding that like whatever it is that whatever conclusion we come to, again, we don't necessarily have to agree, but we can love each other through a disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because even to this day, like we have things that we may not think the same on, but it doesn't mean that how you feel about it should be valued any less.
Right.
Because it came from your experiences.
Right.
It came based off of how you see the world right, like today.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people all the time, one of the best things you can ever do is if you have a strong disagreement about any way that somebody sees a world or in a disagreement based on whatever, again, the situation is, all you can really do is introduce them to new information and allow them to come to whatever conclusion that they have on their own, but you can't press it.
Right.
Because again, if you do that, you're basically disregarding their life experiences, how they feel, all of those other different things, their beliefs, and that should never be the intent. Like, let another person come to their own conclusion based off of the information that they have and grow from there. Right. So
you just said a whole mouthful.
I'm sorry,
you're filled with words.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You gotta apologize for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just I get word vomit sometimes.
What you said is highly valuable. So yeah, you do not gotta apologize for that.
You like me?
Yeah. Anyway, something I highly respect about you is the fact that you allow me to express my extreme emotions. When I'm angry and I want to yell, you don't take it as me being angry or yelling at you. You take it as me being angry and yelling about the situation. And I am grateful for that, because I don't know why in this crazy world people think that when you have a disagreement, you need to watch your tone. Don't be yelling. When emotions are high, like sometimes you can't help but yell, especially when it's a frustrating moment. I can't allow myself to be emotionless when it's a high emotion conversation. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I am super grateful for you allowing me, like, if I want to yell about it, let me yell about it. If I want to be angry about it, let me be angry about it. But you don't take it as me disrespecting you or yelling at you. It's like, no, she's trying to get her point out. She's mad about the situation and she's trying to figure it out, or I'm trying to make a point and it's not coming out the way that I want it to come out. And I'm like, I'm getting so frustrated about it. But it's never towards you. And the fact that you know that it's all love from jump. Like, it's all love. And we're trying to figure out how to fix the solution. Mm-hmm. And my wife gets very aggressive and angry about about the difficulties of solving the problem, not attacking you. Right. You know, and I'm grateful for that. I know your heart. Yeah, and I'm like, it's all out of love, and it's all out of you knowing who I am at the core, and know that I would never disrespect you. I would never yell at you. You know what I'm saying? Because I would never do you like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm grateful. I'm super grateful for that, because it's so unrealistic to have a high emotion conversation and have a perfect tone, or not get a little loud, or not move my hands. Like, no, I am not going to sit here and be mad and I can't express myself when I'm sitting here like this. Like, no, I got to move a little bit. I got to talk a little louder, because I'm really passionate about solving the problem, not yelling at you, you know?
And you know what? Like, that's one of the biggest reasons as to why you really have to get to know a person. Yeah. And know their heart, and actually know where that relationship is, because it's like, for one, I have so much more of a desire to understand why you're feeling that way or feeling the need to do that, than to respond to how you're actually doing it. Because for me, it registers as there's something I'm not getting, or you're getting more upset because there's something I'm not understanding. So now I just ask more questions.
Or it's not coming out the way that I want it to come out, and I really don't have the words to express it the right way. Right. So I could be yelling, but it's not even like Like, it's never towards you, but
Yeah.
like it could just me yelling because I'm mad because I'm not able to verbalize what I'm feeling.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm grateful for the fact that you know this about me, and you're like she's upset. And it's okay for her to be upset. Like, anger is an emotion, and you can express that. You don't have to box yourself in and make that shit pretty during a disagreement.
Yeah,
Like,
and I mean, and I know your personality too. Like,
yeah,
we're super alpha, high energy people or whatever.
right.
For the horoscopy people, we two Leos. You know what I mean? And so,
two Leos marry each other. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy in somebody's world. Yeah, in somebody's world.
Yeah.
But it's like understanding that it's like I already know that we both value the solution more than we value the actual problem.
Yeah.
So it's like in those moments or whatever, I think something that I've been fortunate enough to understand about you is that this is just your personality. Like, you get worked up about regular stuff.
Regular stuff.
Like, so mixing something serious into the matter where I actually need to understand it, it's only natural that you would come across that way. And again, I'm actually trying to hear you and understand where you're coming from. And I care more about understanding you than responding to whatever it is that you have to say. I would rather you get whatever you got to get out so I can hear you. And then I'm like, okay, well, she's lit up. She's a fire right now. How can I live so that way I could be the source of the water to put this flame out?
All right now.
So that's how so that's how I'm listening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like sometimes I don't get it right the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, it may be something that I'm not catching. And sometimes we got to break communication.
Yeah.
You know, or break contact, and we got to come back to it because
it
don't always happen perfectly the first time.
Yeah, in one moment. Yeah,
sometimes we gotta sleep it off.
Yeah.
Whatever, or you sleep it off because I can't sleep well anytime that you hurting or you upset or whatever. But we figure it out in time, and we don't let too much time go by without addressing it and figuring it out.
Yeah.
But again, I think the biggest thing is that we value the solutions, and we value us being able to be back on the same page more than we value being right. And more than we value like forcing to get our point across. Because again, like, it's not winning if we don't both win and we're not both feeling good about, you know, the solution and the conclusion of whatever it is that we're trying to get to.
Yeah. And I think another thing that's dope about us is, like, I know you mentioned how you can't sleep if I'm upset or anything, but you still gonna get these cuddles. You finna cuddle me. Like, it ain't no, like, I'm upset and you finna go sleep on the couch. Like, no, you finna come cuddle me. You finna come hold me. We finna say, I love you. We finna kiss. And then we finna go to sleep. Or, well, I'm gonna go to sleep because I'm gonna sleep peacefully. But yeah, it's
and
never.
My ass be up all night.
But that's your own doing. But it's never on some, like, you're the enemy at the end of the night. It's like, no, like, I still love you. The problem is the problem. That is the problem. You're not the problem. I'm not the problem is the problem. I still love you. I still want some snuggles. I still want some kisses. Okay. And then
I'll give you all of that.
I know. And we're going to get some
Even
sleep.
if I'm upset about it, you don't get all that. You don't get all this loving. But again, because it's the relationship that we have that's more important than whatever that is. Right now, we just having a difficult time getting to whatever the solution is. And
I think it's very important to note that just because there's a disagreement doesn't mean that there's an absence of love. Love is still there, even in the disagreement. Like, I don't love you less because we disagree.
Right.
You know? So I think that's what keeps us, like, probably in a great mental space. It's like, I love you and I really just want to understand you.
Yeah, and there's no ego.
Yeah.
Like, there's, like, what good is ego in a moment like that?
Absolutely.
Like, because again, the biggest thing I feel like we're always, like, fighting for in those moments is how do we get back into being in a place of peace, of joy, of happiness or whatever. And the fact that even though we've probably never even talked about this stuff before, like, in detail.
Yeah. This is a very good conversation, by the way.
True.
Okay.
And it's like the fact that I feel like because of how we know each other and how we love each other, we've always somewhere, like, subconsciously known that we're always trying to get back to a place of peace and love because neither one of us can, like, stand being upset or frustrated or bothered or knowing that the other person is hurt or angry or frustrated or none of that. So it's always about getting back to peace.
Yeah.
And I think that's helped us a lot.
Yeah.
But it comes back to, again, intention, being genuinely interested in the person, valuing the solution more than you do, being right. It's about putting the ego to the side and also being willing to work together to get to the root of the problem, like together as a team in love. And like, it's like, okay, let's decrease of ourselves and come to this thing together as a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we've always valued like our partnership and how we do stuff together way more than any one problem.
Right. And we don't disagree often. Like
Not
we don't argue. Like we don't argue.
Yeah.
Like
no, we don't do back and forth.
Yeah, it's not a real like thing for us. So
rightfully so.
Yeah. But we talk a lot of stuff out though. Like we always talk things out before it even would become a disagreement. We've had so many uncomfortable conversations prior to even having certain experiences, So I think that worked in our favor too. It's like, okay, well, how would you respond if this and this and that and that? Like, just having conversations beforehand and then like, okay, a situation pop up, you're like, oh shit, well, we kind of know how we're going to handle this already,
Being proactive about it.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah.
I think we got some stuff figured out.
Yeah, just a little
bit. But again,
it works for us though,
It works for us.
Yeah.
And hey, we hope y'all be able to take some of that and use it to the best of your abilities and that it values, somebody's able to get some value out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because again, it's worked for us and it's kept us going strong and we're gonna keep winning.
Keep winning. One couple.